as far as I can tell, back in the days of Lemuria, when over 25,000 years ago, they became infiltrated.
Mhm.
Atlantis followed that, and then Atlantis became infiltrated, and eventually there was the demise of Atlantis. So it's been going on. That Atlantis is 10,000 years ago when it sort of collapsed. So this fight, this spiritual war between good and evil, between those serving others and trying to rise in vibration and bringing everyone along, versus those trying to stifle your advancement, has been going on forever. Right now, we're at a crossroads where I believe we're going to be ascending to a higher world, and the people that have been trying to keep us down will no longer be in this new world. And I don't have a firm date on exactly when that happens, and no one will ever tell me. None of the higher beings will tell me, other than sooner than you think. That's the closest I've got to a date. So I think within a year or two, maybe sooner, I'm looking forward to that. I do
Yeah, me
notice
too.
from the group clearings.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we got three people unmuted. They're
Ask
ready to get on
questions.
here.
Okay.
Yeah, ask questions.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought, but
Well, you know what? I have heard we got a lot of people unmuted here. Okay, yeah, if y'all could mute everyone, we will unmute folks for callers, but it throws
yeah.
off, and I know there's a lot of great information we got to get coming forward here. It does appear that a lot of people, Greg Braden, a lot of others have said that humanity has had our memory wiped. And that means that our higher DNA activation, our higher wisdom, our higher knowledge of our own abilities to do some of these things has been wiped by some of these different beings throughout time. That was one of the things with the infiltration of Atlantis and Lemuria. They wiped and kept humanity kind of like now we're babies again. We're relearning. We're trying to reactivate. We're trying to understand what is going on. And the bigger question is, from your vantage point, what holds people back right now? What are you seeing at the different dimensional levels? Let's kind of take a look at that. And Norma, I'm going to have to remove you from the event. I've tried to mute you 3 times and you keep unmuting, so I'm sorry I can't focus on Ed and have people unmuting. So Ed, what do you see holding people back right now?
Right. Okay. Well, as a being, you exist on many
Sorry.
different levels. You have a physical body, you have emotional bodies, mental bodies, and spiritual bodies of increasingly higher vibration. Any one of these bodies, all the way up to your I am presence, can get contaminated, can get distorted, and you can have problems that are caused by something that happens. A physical illness is going to sap your energy. You may have to use spiritual power to try to overcome your physical illness. That's a waste of ability. You want to have your physical body in as best shape as possible. Same thing with your emotional body, mental bodies, and spiritual bodies. And the obstacles vary with depending on what level you're at. In the spiritual world, the worst thing that happens is people get afflicted with non-physical entities attacking them or cursing them, and that's something that I specialize in removing. So that's one less obstacle to getting to your I am presence. In the mental world, this is the next biggest thing I would say is people, they may have had bad experiences, they may have been cursed in the past, they may have had all sorts of trials and tribulations, hardships, and they think automatically based on the evidence that they have with their life that the world is unsafe, you can't trust people, and those are natural things, and you can prove them scientifically. You could make the case. Look, this is what happened to me. I trusted this person, they ripped me off, and so those things are absolutely true. But that creates a mental belief system that's not helpful to you. So that's another thing that I do is I go in there and get rid of negative thinking, limiting beliefs, and the worst of all is this doubt that you can have a beautiful, spiritually fulfilling life full of love, joy, happiness, good health, and prosperity. And those are the that's probably the next biggest problem to people ascending.
Hey, can we dive into this? Because this is fascinating. We have this I am presence, this, Christed DNA, this Christed energy, this essence, this I am. And then we're laying out some of the things that can block us and sort of knock us back into these repetitive patterns. I want to talk about the entities and some of that, but you mentioned these doubts. where
Right.
would those come from? I'm trying to understand if we are, part of God, part of this beautiful
Right.
essence of all creation and connected to everything. Where does that doubt come from? Is that part of the original separation from God at some level, or where do you see that as
Well,
originating
I don't
from?
think originally there was any doubt. We came down
Yeah.
to this much denser plane, and we were trying to learn and create and do things, and eventually move up to the higher plane again. But as we experience problems in this lower plane, especially if there's being interference by people that are not interested in your welfare, then you're going to have bad experiences. These bad experiences, like any scientist would say, well, here's three bad experiences in a row. The universe is unsafe. You can't trust people. Look, here's proof. And
Mm.
it's totally logical. You can't argue that that's true, but I can argue that, okay, it could very well be true, but because of the world is so much more malleable than you would think, you're not stuck with these beliefs, even if you think they're true. All you need to do is get rid of those negative beliefs, those limiting beliefs, all that doubt, and then focus in the present on a better world. And we can replace those negative ideas with positive ones. And I do this every day in my sessions.
So
We can
you
do it.
go in
Go ahead.
and you replace in people's thought fields. Explain a little bit about that. What's what's going on there?
Right. And most of like your listeners and the people that come to me, they don't have outright negative beliefs like that everything is horrible, this and that. Typically, they've gone past that. But the biggest one is the doubt. Well, I want to believe this, but, and there was a funny Russian scientist who came to me who was as smart as was a whip and, as whatever, as smart as can be. And
Mm,
he had been cursed. And he says, okay, but every time I'm close to getting successful, this bad thing happened. Here's an example where this happened. And I said, that's exactly right. Yes, you're right. Everything did happen. We can't deny it. But now that was because you were cursed. So as of today, everything's different. You're no longer cursed. So just as there's a reason why you had all this unsuccessful ventures in the past, now there's a reason they'll be successful in the future because
right.
there's no more curse. And as soon as I say that, it seems very logical. And he goes, yeah, but this is what happened. I said, we can't go back to what happened in the past. If you go
Uh,
back to what happened in the past, or even just as bad as if in the future you have some obstacle and you say, oh, no, it's the same thing that happened 2 years ago. I'll never get ahead. If you do that, you're just recreating that negative belief system again, and you're going to be stuck in it. You have to overcome that. You have all
I
these
kn-
things, law of attraction, where they say, oh, visualize this. Well, it's very hard to visualize success in that when you have this negative mind, mental body that's weighs 1,000 pounds, that's
yeah.
filled with all these negative ideas and memories. So we have to get rid of that. We just cut it loose. You're not obligated to keep believing the things that you believed when you were a kid. Everything is totally different now. Or when you were cursed, everything is different. Especially if you've been cursed and you're no longer cursed. Anytime that you receive an upgrade, when you get help from a healer, you can start fresh, starting to, and then what do they say all the time? So many teachers focus in the
Mm,
present. There's only the now. Yes, those things are all true, but it's the mind's natural tendency to go back to what happened in the past and live like that. Like 90% of your thoughts are based on what happened in the past. That's another scientifically proven truth. So you can't do that. No more of that unless you're reflecting on all the successes you had, then you're not harming yourself. Okay, Michael Jordan, he doesn't focus on the shots he missed at the end of the game. He focuses on the game-winning shots that made him a hero and the greatest player ever.
yeah.
So it's the same thing. If you focus on the positive things, that's okay. Don't focus on any of the negative things. Take every moment moving forward to try to make a better world for you in the future.
Do you find, Ed, that curses and sort of like black arts or any sort of energy that is contrary to this higher ascended essence that we are, that tends to lock people into that thought frame, or that something like a vex or some sort of hex
Right.
comes on somebody and they just can't get rid of a thought, and it's like that one little seed of doubt isn't just a mustard seed anymore. It's a
Right,
gigantic, daunting, moon blocking the sun eclipse of the divine love that's possible in their life.
right.
I mean, how does that
Absolutely.
happen?
That
Okay.
absolutely happens. A person can have a minor setback, but if they have a non-physical entity harping on them, especially if they were cursed, then they go back, then that entity will go back and look at your weakest point, put and blow up that minor problem into something major. It's a common thing that people do.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, so take me into the world. So here we are, right, in this third dimensional reality for the most part. What do you see above this? And kind of take me. I know you've done clearings up to the level of 1 million. I know that's not dimensions,
Right.
but in terms of just kind of dimensionally, how do you see and what do you see as we go higher and higher?
Right. Well, I'm most familiar with well, everyone's most familiar with the lower. Everyone should be familiar. You have the physical world. Everyone knows what that looks like. The dream world, when you're asleep, you're on the astral plane, the fourth density world.
Hmm.
And then fifth density world is everything just keeps going vibrationally higher and higher and higher. And I don't see things as much as I rely on my inner sense of feeling, my clairsentience. To when I take someone up, I can take them up. We'll do it later to a higher level. And if there's any obstruction, any interference, then it doesn't matter what level we're at. I do the same technique. I grab it, like I'm operating at that level. I grab it and I pull it out, pull it off. A lot of times it feels like a squid. I pull it away and I throw it in the portal to let people to free people from that influence. So that's what I do, no matter what the level is. A funny thing is we talked about some of the interference that's happened over the years. Back in originally Lemuria, 25,000 years ago, there was an infiltration of beings from a different star system
Hmm.
that were very negative. And they're not around very much today, but in the early 2000s, they were very popular. People were afraid of them, and they referred to them as the reptilians. Well, those reptilians are limited. They're very limited. And I confirmed this with someone who worked on secret government projects. He worked for them. He was literally trained by them. And I asked him at a luncheon, I see these beings. They look like the Jem'Hadar warriors from Star Trek. They're very muscular, 400 pounds, reptilian looking, but they walk erect. And he says, yes, that's the militaristic wing of the reptilians. And he says, they're he was a little bit of a doomsayer that said the reptilians are in total control. Humanity is doomed. And
Hmm.
the question I asked was, well, I come across these beings in my meditations and sometimes they're trying to prevent me from doing whatever I want. And I find that once as I keep raising my vibration, they can't keep up with me. And if I go high enough, they just pop and disappear. And he confirmed, well, yes, that's true. They only like hanging out in the lower astral realms. They can't go to the
Mm.
higher levels. And that's the level where a lot of humanity, if you're in the dream state, they may show up, or they're not going to show up anymore for the most part, but they used to show up 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and they raise havoc, especially they scare people. But uh, that's an example of a ET race that's no longer a problem for us. There are some of them that are incarnate as humans here on Earth, and they're basically still bad news. But the point is, they don't have the ability to go to these higher levels, and so they're not a threat at all. And that
Okay.
was what I learned. That was in the year 2000. I subsequently met someone who was in the secret space program, and he told me that in 2005, when he joined, he had to go into this special chair where they artificially take you to the fifth density beyond fourth density. And he said this was reptilian technology. And he said it was because the reptilians couldn't go to fifth density on their own. They didn't have the natural ability. So they had to use technology to go there. And that basically confirmed everything that I saw. It was only 5 years earlier, but I only learned about this secret space program individual last year. But it confirmed everything I saw. The most important thing, raising your vibration, and
Yeah.
you can go way beyond the astral. Everyone on the call here can easily go beyond the astral realm to higher realms. And that's where I think our entire world is heading.
Yeah, that's where we need to go if we're going to actually create the things that we want and live the life that we want and hold the energy in our body that we want for divine health. Let me get to a couple questions because we do have some folks that are struggling with a few things, and this will
Mhm.
open the door to kind of where people are at right now. Anna says, can you please share? Actually, not Anna. This was Marion. Asked about curses. She said, "Why do curses attach to us instead of just deflecting back to the sender? Is it some sort of soul contract or something else?"
Mm.
May not be a contract, but there's a lot of past life. I've had many instances where the client who I'm trying to help has a past life agreement with someone who's basically evil. In fact, that was the testimonial you read from Morgan. She had been a witch in other lifetimes, and now she's trying to do good. And all her old witch buddies, and I'm talking about the bad ones, the evil magicians, are trying to hold her back because she's not supporting them and doing what they want her to do. So it took a while to cut ties with this entire group of bad people and give her the power to be able to move up on her own. So I do see a lot of that. Why do curses anchor to people?
Yeah.
They just you can every single thing every thought you have and every voice, every sentence you speak out is in effect is a prayer or a
Or a
potential
curse.
curse. Yeah, depending if it's positive or negative.
Wow.
So you don't
Yeah.
like Darius and you say, oh, I don't like this guy, and you're sending that negative energy. Well, what the evil magicians have done is they've formalized that and made it much more powerful
Hmm.
by getting a group of them together, typically three of them together, and then they go through certain rituals to focus that negative energy toward the person they want to attack and basically curse them. In the past, they would often summon entities known as the jinn to do their dirty work and make the person's life miserable. So if the person wanted a relationship, they'd make sure they stayed single and that they avoided the people that might be compatible with them and picking the wrong partners. If they wanted abundance, they'd make sure they stayed broke. So these jinn were very savvy. And fortunately, one of my friends and very close friend, had a past life as a king of the jinn, one of the jinn kingdoms. And so he told me how to communicate with them, to greet them in their native tongue, and basically say, look, we don't need to fight anymore. These evil magicians that are controlling you and blackmailing you and and doing these forcing you to do these bad things, I can get rid of them. And if I get rid of them, then we can all ascend. We don't have to fight. You don't have to fight with humans anymore. And initially they were skeptical, but over time, as they saw that I kept my word and helped them, and my spiritual team would help them to ascend, the jinn are no longer uh, contributing as negative non-physical entities. It's very, very rare that I come across jinn.
So if you see a curse, is it something that we are that someone else is now sort of putting into our thought field? Then how do curses work today?
Right. They still work the same, but they can't get the jinn to do their dirty work anymore, who are among the most
So
efficient.
who's
And
doing the dirty work?
well, the same evil magicians are doing them. They could be human incarnate, or
Oh,
they could be
okay.
non-physical incarnate, living in the astral realm, for example. And
Mm.
instead of calling in the jinn, they call in these other garden variety
Yes.
demons to
Oh,
make
that's great.
people's life miserable. So
Is
the,
that
the
why? I mean, are those better or worse? Are they more powerful than the jinn, or are they more sadistic than the jinn? I'm just wondering because I know there's a lot of folks that say what I'm going through is like way worse than ever before. And it's
right,
like it's almost like more intense than like the garden variety. Yeah, I had a little bad
yeah,
luck. And I'm wondering, is it more intense or are these beings more intense than the jinn were? I don't know.
right. Well, the jinn were especially good because they were so ferocious and never gave up. I mean, they had a lot of good qualities, but they were being turned against humanity, which they didn't need to be, and now that's been fixed. So there are beings that are less ferocious than the jinn. There are now others that are at higher levels of,
Hmm,
of energy than the jinn. So
okay.
a lot of the garden variety ones that most every energy healer was getting rid of easily, they're not
They're gone.
affecting. Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
affecting humanity anymore. Humanity has
Okay.
moved up. They've been moving up in micro steps. Over time, the last several years especially, I noticed it because when I'm clearing out the group in the morning, every morning I do that. Some days are easier than others. And I very often, when I have a very hard time, there's a breakthrough, and then it becomes easier a few days later. So I can see as humanity is moving up. So the lower level ones, the ones that were less dangerous than the jinn, are for the most part not around. The ones that are at their level or slightly above, there's some of them around. There's fewer and fewer of them around. And then the only thing that's new that I've noticed in the last year is there's some very high level negative entities. They're very rare, and they're not as obvious as the typical entities. Typical entities, just whatever you want, they do the opposite. These are more subtle, and they're just gently steer you in the direction that they want. But
Hmm.
people don't feel total freedom, and those that are sensitive recognize it. And when they come to me, I said, "Well, let's check." And that's how that blazingly fast
Okay.
way to raise your vibration is very helpful. I take them to this very high level, like almost as a checklist, as opposed to just looking and saying, "Oh, everyone's clear." No,
Hmm.
let's not rely on that. Let's use the checklist, and we go to the very, very high levels, and they're higher in some cases than the million level, where I was taking people uh, last year and last season, and then even earlier this season. We go to a higher
Hmm.
level because sometimes there are entities that are at a higher level than that. Uh, the other thing that is I just discovered in the last week, basically, is
Hmm.
one client who has a nemesis, who was a witch, a soul witch in this lifetime, and an evil one. It's not Glenda, the good witch that tries to help people. She does evil things. She does evil spells and that. And her group, what they were doing is they were able to go to a high enough level where they were putting artifacts and things that had negative power in them at these higher levels of density, and
Hmm.
then they would call upon them to use that energy to harm my client and other people like that.
And was your
So,
client just a run-of-the-mill person? Were they doing some great like work in the world, or was just a person trying to get on with their life?
well, a person trying to get on with their life, but she did have, in this
Huh.
case, a past life connection with this
Okay.
with this witch. So they had karma between them, which complicated everything. But now she's done. She doesn't want anything to do with her. She just wants to move on and do good things. She wishes well for humanity and all those kind of things. But in helping her, I saw this higher level place where they were storing these artifacts, and then when I went there, I was able to just get rid of them. So that's the benefit of us moving in the direction toward helping humanity. Things that might take me a few minutes to do may have taken them weeks or months to prepare with elaborate rituals to invoke their negativity. So that's the case with all healers that are operating at these levels. Is what you do to help humanity can be done in much shorter time than what the negative did in order to generate that negative energy and to invoke those curses.
Okay. I want to do this, Ed. There's a lot of people with some questions. Annette has got a question about where she's living, so I want to see if we can get Annette unmuted here. Annette wrote into us, but I'm going to read her question just in case she cannot. Oh, she can't raise her hand. Well, this is let's see if we can help out Annette here, and we're going to get into the Q&A segment here.
Mm-hmm.
So let me find her question. One second. We got so many questions coming in. Hold on one second, y'all. Annette just wrote in and she said, Edwin, you are a fountain of information. She's wondering if there is something affecting her in her apartment. Um, I'll just let you kind of look in there.
Yeah, you've got some entities on you in that. So let's just get rid of them. I'm doing this standard technique. All I'm doing is filling the place with high vibrational energy, love, and these entities are low enough vibration that they don't like it one bit. So they get all frantic, and that means I can get rid of them easily. And they curse me out. They have their own unique curse language of hatred toward me, which is fine. Okay, now, so that we got rid of the ones that most likely were the source of our problem. But now let's check by doing the blazing fast technique. So I'm going to take your vibration very high in that to make sure there's no high level ones. So we'll count up exponentially 10, 1, 2, 3, 7, 9, 100, 1, 2, 3, 1,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900,000, 7, 8, 9, a million. Now here's one very high level between the million and 10 million. So that's going to be 6.5, 7 density, very high level negative entity.
Okay.
And so we just get rid of that. I use the same technique as well. It's just we're operating at a much higher plane. So let's go back. Million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 million. Okay, there, we're gone now. Everything's clear. So yeah, if Annette, if you're unmuted or you can write in, say how you feel now. Should be like night and day.
Wow. Annette, let us know. Let that energy just continue to fill your home and your beautiful spirit. You mentioned going up to 10 million. Last time I think we were looking at clearing to a million. Now you're
Right,
going to 10 million. Explain a little bit about those levels and why was this thing hiding out at that high a level? What was going on
right.
there?
Okay, well, what I discovered, I just came up with this arbitrary scale, and then I turned out it wasn't arbitrary.
Mm,
So a million is 10 to the 6. So that would be a 6 density. You're at the 6 density level. And then as you go to 10 million, that would be 7th density, 10 to the 7th. So then somewhere in between there, 6.5, wherever that entity was, is what we removed. So I can go much higher. And for most people, they're not affected by it. They don't have entities at that level. Even this one is relatively rare. I can't count how many of them have been at this high level. So anyway, so that's what I do. I get rid of that high level one. And why are we coming up with these? I think part of it is they may have been around all along, but they weren't really paying any close attention to humans because humanity wasn't moving up close enough where it would consider to be a threat or an annoyance to them. But now that humanity is moving up, I think that's why they're making their presence known. Is like, okay, we don't necessarily want humanity in our world. We'll just kind of shunt them off and
right.
and direct them so that they don't get to this higher level.
Wow.
But there's far fewer of the higher ones, and that's the law of one teaching. It's much easier to rise in consciousness if you're helping other people than it is if you're doing it all for yourself. And so these things are doing it for themselves for the most part, and they did get to this high level, but since it's much harder, there's far fewer of them than there are the benevolent beings at this high level. And same with
Okay.
humanity. It's going to be easier for you to move up if you're helping other people,
Yeah.
and that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. A lot of people, and it may be this audience, but every time, you say, well, we don't see a lot of these, and then we get on the line and they're there, and it may be just our audience tends to be
Yeah,
really seeking, and we're just like kind of like the bright lights that are getting this stuff that the general population doesn't. And it makes sense because, a lot of us have that ancestry from Lemuria, from Atlantis, from these different civilizations, and the same things that we were doing there, we're doing now. And as we got stopped there through the cataclysm, we're trying to, move forward here and getting stopped in some way in our own life. So,
right.
I got to say some interesting things are happening. A lot of people got dropped on the Zoom. Some hands were raised, they got dropped. So, hold tight, everyone. We're gonna try to keep everything together here. I'm sure it's going to be just fine. Let's go to some callers. And Ed, you're sending some energy to the
Yeah,
call because I know we got a lot of
yeah.
folks
Try
wanting
to
some support.
keep the technology in place.
Yeah, keep it in place, guys. A lot of this stuff just loves to mess with technology. So I'm going to go. I feel very called to check in with Elizabeth here. And Elizabeth, I don't know what your question is. We're just going to see what's going on with you. Elizabeth Youngerman, can we? There you are, Elizabeth. What's going on?
I was just trying to see what would be going on around with me. I've been
Okay.
through a whole bunch. Um, I had to deal with the death of my husband, who was very
Oh,
challenging as a person, and he made his process of dying that much more difficult. And then also my father, and I'm also looking at trying to do I rebuild my chiropractic practice, which was brought down
mm,
in the process. Also, I have an opportunity to study evidential mediumship. I don't know if I should go down that road.
wow.
I'm have some inclinations, but I'm a little bit scared.
Mhm. Right,
So I thought I would just see if there was an opportunity.
right.
This is
Okay.
great.
The first thing I noticed before you even spoke is this sadness, which could be from your husband, could be from your father. or your career. I mean, there's many potential avenues. So I'm just going to take you to a higher place, and we're going to move from sadness to joy. Right? There is an entity here bugging you. Doesn't want that to happen, so let's go in and get rid of it. So this is an example where you may have a little bit of sadness, and then this entity comes in there and makes you depressed. So we'll just get rid of it. Just make sure there's no magicians manipulating you. I don't find any of those. Let's look at your ex-husband, you said, who died also.
Well, he was my husband. Yeah.
Oh, but he died, you said?
Yes, correct. 23.
Yeah. Well, he's full of entities, so that might be where they're coming from. So here's a case where we need to take them off of him. And even though he's dead, he still has these, he's still filled with them. Okay, well, he seems to have wanted them. So that could be why he was difficult. A lot of people, even if they're not formal evil magicians, they feel the power that comes from having these entities with them and how they can intimidate people using them, and so they like them. But that's not the way to do things. So I'm just getting rid of them from him.
He used to channel while he played the keyboard, and we had some paranormal experiences in the house. We still get very apt ceiling pops that fit conversations and stuff that almost give you an energy pulse.
Right. Okay, well, there you have it. He was calling them in. He liked them. He liked them for music reasons or for whatever reason. Well, right now he's free of all those. I'm just going to tell him you're free. You don't have to rely on them anymore. You can move on to the higher worlds. You're free to go. He's like, okay, I suppose. He changed his tune, literally. Okay, so that could be where they were coming from. Let's clear you and your home. Just fill it with love, absolute, unconditional, infinite, divine love. Yeah, entities don't like that one bit. Check in some of your father. He's okay. Who was the other one? Or just your career, your chiropractic career versus mediumship? Yeah, you have to make that decision. But yeah, your mind should be clear now. You can make better decisions. You don't have to make it right now either. Don't look at the pros and cons of every path you want to take and pick the one that resonates with you. And even if you don't know which is the exact path, this is true for everyone. Start down at least one path, and the way will become clearer as you start journeying down there. And obstacles that you thought would be impossible to ever overcome, you may see ways around them as you go down that path. So don't sit around waiting for everything to be perfect before you embark on any new venture. Start and do whatever analysis you can ahead of time. So don't start a career that has no one ever will pay you for it. But once you do start,
someone was detected at your front door. Someone was detected at your front door.
Am I safe pursuing any kind of the evidential medium type of program, or am I opening up doorways of problems of energies and other situations?
I'm not a big fan of mediumship because typically you give up your control of your being to some other entity, which comes in and gives you information. When I talk to these other entities, I'm still in my own body. I don't give away my power to anyone else. I stay in my body and we go to whatever level and then we communicate. So I prefer doing that than mediumship as it's normally practiced. So, you can figure it out or just become a regular energy healer. There's all sorts of modalities you can do. And build upon your chiropractic. You may still have a customer list of people that came to you that trust you, that you can help in a different way. So
I agree. I know I've known a lot of chiropractors that move into energy work, and a lot of chiropractors that do remote manipulation of the body and the bones and the joints without even touching anybody from thousands of miles away. Believe it or not. So yeah. So Ed, in her case, there were things that were coming into the home through her late husband, and that was still affecting her even though he passed. And he
Right.
was still okay. Did he go to the light or was he hanging around?
Well, he was at whatever level he was at, and
Mm,
typically I can't tell if someone's alive or dead. So they're still, their mental body's intact. I can still communicate with them, but I don't know.
okay.
And there was, when I first was learning this, I didn't realize that there was a fellow who I was trying to encourage to come back into the public service to do good things, because was a very powerful being. And he kept saying, no, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. No, I can't. I said, yes, you can. You can. And I'm trying to encourage him. And it wasn't until later I realized he was dead. So I was like, that's why he couldn't do it.
I see dead people.
So I
Yeah.
said, okay, well, if you made a mistake there, but send energy to the people that can use your power and wisdom.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
All right, I'm going to go to another caller. Norma, I see you there. Norma Z, you got a beautiful video. You're the third one to raise your hand. So let me see if I can unmute you there and see what question you've got for Edwin. I don't know. Let's see. And Norma, are you able to unmute yourself? Not sure if she's hearing me. Oh, there she is. Hi, Norma. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on one second, Norma. I'm trying here. I don't know. No, we're not able to hear you. We're doing our best. Okay, yeah, I can see her on the video. She's talking on her phone, trying to reach us, but we're not able to get her. Some weird things. I'm glad we're doing that total love immersion, Ed, because I know a lot of
Right.
people are wanting support today. And with the way things are going with this 11/11, there's so much energy coming in. It's just wild. It causes some weird things. So Ed's gonna do some clearing work. Let me go to another caller. I'm gonna go to Melissa. As you've just kind of popped up, Melissa, I'm sending you an unmute request, or you can just unmute yourself. How can we help you today?
Yeah, yes. Thank you so much, Darius. Such a
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank
I
you.
love your shirt, by the way. It's
Oh,
awesome. It's very
thanks. I
glossy.
appreciate.
Um,
Yeah, it is. My
um,
11/11
Cosmic.
shirt. Yeah, right.
11/11, and we're Mercury retrograde, so I'm having all kind of buzzy things happen. My TV went out. I got
Oh,
bumped from this, but thank you so much. And Ed, thank you for all your work. I've worked with you several times and in your group sessions monthly. I was filled with love and light and went to the park. This was beginning of October, sending love and light to people. I got an attack by mosquitoes, like
Mm-hmm.
5 big bites on the inside of my arm, turned into the staph infection. Since just dealing with this drama health wise, and numbness and tingling in the body, the calf neuropathy, so on and so forth, messed up my gut. Was this a spiritual attack? I don't
Well,
know.
you seem to be free of any entities or that, especially if you're being helped every day with the group sessions.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes, what do they say? A cigar is just a cigar. Sometimes you got bit. May not have been for ulterior motives, although other people say there are no accidents. This happened for a reason. Let's just make sure you're totally clear. So raise your vibration. Yeah, there's nothing on you. Um, yeah, do you have these infections now, or have they been relieved?
I'm still dealing with, pain, numbness, and tingling all over my extremities, especially on my left side
Okay,
and
let's
my
try to feel.
left calf and foot.
Okay, I feel the entity, the energy of that negativity. Feels like sadness to me. I just take it away. Okay, I don't know if that feels any different to you. I feel the burden of all this mostly sadness that was like blanketing you, that I took
Yeah, it
away.
was making me so sad that, going through all of this and trying to pursue, life. And I've had a lot of, like, 20 some odd years battle of health issues. So
All right.
this was like, oh, getting set back again. And I know and I have a question about curses or things of that nature. If people do something negative towards us, if we get a clearing from you, and that person attempts to do it to us again, are we permanently cleared, or is it a situation where we need to continue to get clearings, which I do anyway, I love it, but on a consistent basis, like going to the doctor, like every 3 months or something as such?
Right. Well, the people that curse you, when I take away the curse, I go after the magicians responsible and I take away their power. Usually they have lots of negative demonic energies that they surround themselves with. I take all of that away. Suddenly they're stripped naked of their power. And then my team, I ask them to tie them up. So those individuals, except on rare occasions, are not going to be able to curse you again. But the next step for them to do is they go find one of their friends. They said, oh, I can't curse this woman anymore. I hate her. Would you curse her? So in order to head that off, when I strip those 3 magicians of their power, I go after their entire group to get rid of any of their associates. So they are also tied up and stripped of their power. So then they go and they talk to someone else, and that other person doesn't have the power to harm you either. So, but that is not to say that the next day they walk down the street and find some other evil person and that says, hey, I hate this woman. And they first thing they ask is, well, why don't you curse her? Well, I can't. I'm tied up. Okay, why don't you call any of your friends and your associates? Well, they're all tied up. So the logical thing they say is, well, why do I want to mess with that and get tied up and lose my power? I'm not helping you. That's the most logical thing, like 90% of the time. But maybe 10% of the time they say, oh, we can't have this. We can't let this stand. I'm going to call every one of my friends and we're going to go and fix this. And we're going to curse her and we're going to find out whoever it was that helped her. So occasionally you have things like that. And occasionally they'll come after me. And it used to be more common. Now it's less and less common. But I would just go out to dinner with my friends and we'd be talking. All of a sudden I said, hold on a second. Someone's attacking me. Just give me a minute. And they'll, in the middle of dinner, just crush the being, whoever is trying to hurt me, and stop it. So, and I was getting cursed more than all my clients combined because I was the source of their misery. So, but now it's much less common that they even attack me, and I'm at a higher level than I was even several years ago. So it doesn't affect me as much. But anyway, that's what I'm trying to do is if you are anyone who's cursed, get rid of the curse, get rid of the people responsible for the curse, get rid of all their friends. And then if there's a setback in the future, let me know. Usually there isn't, but on rare occasions there is. And then we address that.
Excellent. So, thank you. And just one last question. If we go into a room, we know it's filled with a negative, evil person, which I had last week. Right. Oh boy, was it bad. If we ask for God, Jesus, Archangel Michael, the whole team, protect me, white bubble of light, is that going to guarantee, I would hope, is that going to guarantee protection, like as a shield from this dark entity?
Yeah, it will certainly help. I can't say with absolute authority will that work, but this goes to that guy in the secret space program that he was immersed in a very negative environment initially. It got better in the future, and one of the evil people that is, I won't even mention his name, he's no longer on Earth, but he's very evil. He recoiled when this person invoked the name Jesus Christ, and he recoiled. He hated that. It would just set him off. And so it did protect him in a sense, just to invoke the power of that master.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Great question, Melissa.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. I so appreciate it.
Sending you love, and let us know how you're feeling, as this kind of moves through. Yeah. It's interesting. There's a lot of stories, Ed, where somebody witnesses something, even animals. I remember my friend Brad Nelson shared a story about a horse that literally was dying, and nobody could figure out why this horse was dying. And it goes to sadness because this horse actually was in a stall, and right across from his stall was a tree with a nest with baby birds in it. And this horse, couldn't reach the birds. He was far away, but he could see it. And one of the baby birds fell out of the nest. It was just like a day old. And he fell, and the horse could hear the baby bird crying and screeching for its mom for about 24 hours until it died. And the horse watched all
Right.
this unfold, saw it, felt it, couldn't do anything. And the horse then was just literally dying of some unexplained illness. And what Brad had said was literally he had to go in there and remove the sadness from the heart of that horse because
Right.
of the helplessness and the sheer agony that he viewed as he saw this innocent being, this innocent life expire. And so, sadness is a real thing. And this is another piece of this. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I appreciate Melissa because it's like, yes, it can hit us. And so we're going to dive into this because the other side of this is total love. The other side of this is the immersion of total love.
Right.
And today we're going to get one of my absolute favorite and famous activations. And it's going to be with a twist on 11/11. So I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. And if you did raise your hand and we weren't able to get to you, this is your opportunity to feel something amazing. So Ed, let us know, what the total love immersion is, and then we're going to get started. But I'm going to remind anybody who's listening on Facebook, X, or YouTube, or any other social sites, we're going to cut the live stream. This is something I want you to actually experience on Ed's very special page. One of the things about this immersion is it is something I don't want people to listen to while driving, and I've got warnings on our page because it's super powerful, and I can't put those on YouTube. So we're going to cut the stream, and then Ed, for those of you guys that are missing it who